You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is Love podcast. Do you like that? I love the name of our podcast.
I really do. That doesn't, I know we've changed up a lot of things. I don't feel like that's one that changes.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember back around the hundreds. I don't remember exactly when. It was during the transition period where, this is some insider baseball when it comes to the podcast.
Yes.
Sorry, folks, we just got done with dinner. Today is, usually we don't really comment on what day it is, not because of secrets, just because it's hard to keep track of when we record episodes and when the episodes come out and all that kind of stuff. But we're recording this on February 16th.
We are.
Which is the full moon in Leo.
In Leo.
That is massively important and powerful for these two people, me and you. There's nobody else. If you're not watching, there's nobody else here.
It's definitely affecting a lot because of the impetus of this moon and the courageous and the ability to really hone in.
Yeah.
And let go of what's holding you back. And really take that courage to move forward.
Do you feel it?
I've been excited for it, but today was the hard part. But then had the realization that the moon's been void, of course, which is when it's...
I love how you say, of course. It's void, of course. You all know what void is.
I didn't mean, of course, of course you know. I meant it is void of its course.
Oh, goodness
void,
gracious.
so it's called void, of course.
Copy.
But I didn't know that that's how it sounded. So of course I'm it's void, of course. It totally
Idiots.
Sounds like that.
Can't believe you didn't know that the moon was void today.
Who's gonna ask a question about that, right? Not knowing it's void, of course. Of course. I never heard that.
Okay. So it's off course.
No, it's
or
not
the
off
course
course.
that the course that the moon is on.
It's a transition period.
Yes.
We'll just say, because what it is the last planet that it aspects, whether favorably or challengingly. Mm-hmm. So it's the last planet that it's having a conversation with. Once it's done with that aspect and it's moving to its new sign, which is fast because the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So it's not you're going to be in this retrograde period. The moon doesn't go retrograde.
The moon has ADHD.
The moon has ADHD.
Okay, keep going. It gets bored with stuff. I need something new. What's new? Oh, look, here's another sign. This must be my most important sign ever. I am a Taurus. And then 72 hours later, I'm bored. What else? Oh my God, look over here.
Gemini. Cracking me up. I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, the void can be 10 minutes long. Because it's very short.
Very short.
And it can be hours. Today was hours. It was
What determines the length of it? Is it that how they hang out with the previous house? Or is there some other sciencey...
It depends on where the planets are transiting. Transiting. It depends on where the planets are and how much space there is between what aspect the moon has made, the last conversation, and the next sign. So if the last aspect is at the beginning of the sign and they have nothing, then it could be a 2.5 day before the moon moves from, for example, from Leo to Virgo.
Yeah.
So it could be 2.5 days. I've only recently become aware of void of courses. So far, everything that I've looked at and all of the courses and all the dates in the moon charting, which we were doing, I have not seen that there's been one that's been 2.5 days. There could be, right?
Oh, you haven't seen that yet?
I haven't seen that. So I don't think that's a thing, but also in the history of time, it could have been a thing, right? So
normally it's just a few hours?
Yeah, just a few hours. Might be a day. Might be an overnight.
What house did it just leave?
Everybody has a different house.
Oh, so it would be individually.
Individually, yeah.
Copy.
It depends on, we can totally have the same houses if we were born, same time frame. So there are people that you can have shared houses with, but houses are individual to the person.
I just had a thought.
Okay. Am I going too far?
You're not going too far at all. I love this so much.
Yeah?
Okay. Told you I'm all about the moon. I love all the other planetary stuff and all the other astrological stuff that you're learning, but we had this conversation where I'm not going to learn all of that. And I do want to learn all about the moon, however.
Yeah.
So, you said if you were born like at the same time or something like that, then you'd have the same houses.
Like there's a lot that has to line up
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you to have the same houses, and just like where things are going to land, what day, what time, how the universe is turning, what axis, just so many different
So
things.
my brain said, I wonder if anybody has ever been born at the exact same time. So then I sat there and thought about it for a minute. Are you ready? Because I was thinking, I'm like, how do we determine when somebody's born? And it's not accurate,
It's not.
right? It's just whenever somebody
It's more
decided-
accurate now than it's been.
Did it used to be way less accurate?
Way less.
Okay.
It was like 10 minutes ago, we'll say, like, for instance, 3:15.
Right.
It could have been like anywhere on there. Anyways, we'll get into that later. Keep going.
So I realized, oh yeah, it's not very accurate. And then I thought, what about from like a spiritual perspective, from the perspective of like when they came online.
Okay.
And so then that's when the universe basically, that's their point of starting.
Yeah. At conception, are you saying?
Well, that's what my thought was. I'm like, is that when the head exits the
Or
vagina,
birth.
right? Is that birth when it finally breaks free and takes its first breath? Is that when it starts? And I thought, no, that's not when it starts. Because you and I both know I don't know what it feels like to have a child inside of me, but I know what it feels like to feel my child in somebody else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know what it feels like to have a child inside of me, but I don't know what it feels like to feel my child in somebody else.
but the whole idea is that, they're very much online far earlier than when they take their first breath of this oxygen.
Yeah.
So I think that there's got to be, maybe it's conception. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe.
'Cause
Right.
if that's
I know
the
that.
case, then we got to move our birth dates back 10 months.
Well, who's to say, like, that's a tricky one, because the moment of conception is extremely difficult to pinpoint unless you're like in vitro,
Yeah.
because you find out you're pregnant, right?
Right.
If you've happened to have like sex just once and then you find out you're pregnant,
Then it's a safe
then you
bet it
can like,
happened on
okay,
that
there's
Tuesday.
conception.
Right.
But like, how far is your gestational period? Like, you have the normal, or like the safe 40 weeks, but how many people make it to 40 weeks and how many people make it past? And
I remember when that first child, not the first child of mine, the second child of mine was being born, and learning that it's not actually 9 months. And
That
it's like my brain had such a hard time processing that. And I remember literally thinking, I'm like, that doesn't make any
why
sense.
do they always say 9 months then? Why don't they just say 10 months?
It took forever for me to kind of get my brain around like the possibility of it going longer than 9 months.
Yeah. You're like, are you sure?
Right. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. They had that movie with Hugh Grant.
Yeah. I was just thinking that, like, it's literally titled 9 months.
Right. So anyways, I guess we can't pinpoint. Well, the truth of it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, with astrology, the way that it is charted isn't conception or just when the head pops out, because that's not the first breath either. It's when the baby, the full body, when it emerges. And that baby doesn't have to take a breath to have that natal chart.
Start.
Yeah. So regardless, like, obviously, that's a sad thing. Like, baby, take a breath. But it's the birth process. It's the emerging from one world into another, into this. So as soon as you came out and were here, then that's when it's like
from one world to another.
Yeah.
That's our first dimensional jump.
Right. Or maybe it's like the
Well, I'm thinking
gazillionth
I'm thinking of like in this meat sack.
in this meat sack.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you've got the meat sack in another dimension, because it's developing in that other world, right? I love that you said from one world to the other.
It just came to me.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, you take that meat sack, and the very first time that meat sack makes a jump is at birth.
And that's when
Yeah. I bet you that's what it is.
it's very cool.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I hadn't thought about it in that regards before. I thought about it like, that's so funny that I'm such a funny I'm funny.
You are funny.
Such a funny fellow.
You're going to be learning a lot more about astrology other than moons. I think it's going to start with the moon, and you're going to be like, so.
I just got you for that.
You do have me for that, but
Yeah.
you also, yeah, that's true.
Hold on, this is a beautiful thought in my head.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just
Please
I've
continue.
never realized, because I remember thinking, like contemplating what, not just where we came from, but like what was before this, right? At some point we were, something else before we were embodied into these meat sacks, suits, these bodies, these physical things. And I never thought about the dimensional aspect of coming from that world to this world.
Okay.
But that's it's so fascinating because it's almost like, because if you think about it this way too, right? The baby's obviously inside the womb, inside the body, right? What do we think of our bodies as sometimes? Like our body as a universe,
Yeah.
right? Because
There's a song about mine.
What is it?
It's Wonderland. It wasn't Jennifer Love Hewitt he was singing about.
Baby, you have the most amazing amusement park that has ever been built. It's incredible.
Wow.
It is a wonderland.
Wonder Will, you're my only friend.
Fucking thought here. What is it?
Oh, no.
That we come from? Help me out.
You were talking about like, what is the body? Like what we call it, body is a universe.
Yeah. Right? We think of ourselves as,
The universe.
the universe. Like we're a smaller example of the bigger thing that we come from. Because inside of us is all of that space, all of the nucleus, like an infinite amount of space exists inside of us, just as it does exist outside of us. And so the baby is sprung forth from that space, right? It's like two things collide, right? We all know, we're not going to get dirty with this yet, but we obviously all know how inception happens, right? You take a cock and you get it real. Anyways, it happens all within inside the universe.
Yeah.
Inside this body, inside this beautiful space, inception, growth, development. So there's like a whole lifetime of experience that takes place inside that universal body of the woman that's having the baby. So the baby goes through a whole entire life.
It's a life cycle.
It's born.
Conception to birth, which is the beginning and the end.
Is this something that's like common knowledge?
I don't think so. I think there are people that get that. They're like, yeah. Because like it's like that dimension thing, or that like how it spins in on
Yes.
itself. So we talk about the magnetic force of the
Yes.
earth. It's like we have that as well as our bodies, the universe. So it just like keeps like this loop, which is why we're all connected, because we are all.
How crazy. My mind is expanding right now. This is mind expanding for me. That idea that we live an entire lifetime. Because out here, it's 10 months. Like how often do we know that? We saw the movie in Interstellar. On other planets, time is different. In other dimensions, time is different. So from this perspective, it appears to be 10 months, approximately 40 weeks before the baby is born. That 40 weeks internally could feel like a lifetime.
Exactly.
And it makes sense that babies aren't always born at exactly 40 weeks. Because if you think about it, that's the time that they died. So our death isn't always the same as everybody else. There's some commonalities, and most people will live to be 80 or whatever, right? The common age range is. But there's some people that last all 40 weeks.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that go even
Like
42. Those people are so old.
Right.
Hold on.
Keep going.
Imagine if those people that come out at 42 weeks, they're the ones that like are the enlightened ones in this realm, because they have so much life experience. They went far past expectation and growth before they came here. So they're the ones that are super connected. I don't know. That's just a thought. That's a cool thought. I like that
That's
thought.
a cool thought.
What do you think?
I think that fits. I think if you look at the planet's orbit as well, we'll just stick with the Milky Way. We'll just stick with our galaxy. The planet's orbit, how like a year is dictated, or like it's a solar return, so a trip around the sun. You have the Earth. It takes 1 year, 365 days to make an orbit around the sun. And then you have Pluto, who takes 248 years to go around the sun. And so it's just like this time constraint. It's the same, like you would still measure it the same as like going around the sun, but here it takes a year and there it takes 248 years. So what if this is the 40 weeks,
right?
The 10 months, and then whew, it just keeps going.
Yeah. My birthday is in a few weeks. What if that is my 4th month?
What if it is?
Right? My 4th month out of 40.
Think about that. Like, because that 100 is the womb.
Yeah.
Like the baby's viable, like that 8 months, that 9. So that 80, 90. So you're like 4th month is 40 years.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be 40 years, would it?
Why wouldn't it?
Because then another 40.
That's just talking about these 2 dimensions.
Yeah.
So 4 months.
Yes.
40 years. So that's giving each month a decade. So instead of...
Yeah, but then you'd be living to be like 400.
No.
There's a high likelihood that I am too high to solve this math equation. If the train leaving Pittsburgh is carrying 73 passengers.
Don't do that. Okay, math is hard.
Do you remember the episode where we talked about Jeff Bezos?
Oh my God, yes.
I think we were drunk then. We don't drink alcohol anymore.
It's because of that episode. We were like, this clearly makes you fucking stupid.
I have no idea what episode it is. It's a fun one though.
Oh my God.
And we were talking about how rich Bezos is and how he should give all of that money to people. And he, at the time, he was worth like $7 billion or something like that.
Oh no, it was way more than that.
Was it?
Yes. Still, our math still didn't add up.
We had like in our minds, he could give every human alive
like $1 million. And still.
Yeah. And we're like, wait a minute. I think we did the math wrong on that. Maybe he can give all of us a penny. Yeah, this is the same situation.
Maybe it was like 7 billion or something. I don't know. It was funny. This might be the same situation. Although we were both on board, and that one we're like, how could you be so selfish?
You're taking my $1 million. Can you imagine what we could all do with that? Have you ever heard of the concept of everybody gets money? What's that thing?
Payday?
No, like
the concept of evolution.
Oh my goodness. I know you've heard of it. I just can't remember the name of it.
I might not because I don't know what you're talking about.
Basically, everybody.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. Like everybody gets money.
Okay.
Like welfare, but that's not welfare. It's just, Stephanie, every month from the government, you get $900.
Okay.
That's it. You don't have to do anything for it. It's just everybody gets a certain amount of money.
Okay.
It's like, basic income.
Oh, I have heard that. It's not basic income though, but now I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is it standardized?
Okay, Google.
Oh, what is that? Okay.
Okay, Google. She didn't want to listen.
No, it's because she's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm just going to
Universal basic income.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even have to pull up Google. I just opened up my phone. Maybe
Did she hear you?
She electrically fucked it into my hand.
Naughty.
I know. We had this conversation today. We want to hear your guys' take on it. Universal basic income. Government program that aids economic inequality, provide economic security through monthly direct cash transfers to every member of a community with no means testing. I like it.
I like that. I also think the most important thing would be free healthcare.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Free healthcare and then universal basic income.
Yes.
So imagine if everybody got $1,000 and not just like, you know how they do it with like,
and not married, price inflection from where you're at, none of that.
Every individual person at the age of 18 gets $1,000 a month.
Okay.
So that's $12,000 a year.
Okay.
In most circumstances, you could survive on $12,000 a year.
What circumstances are those?
Well, what I'm saying is like, maybe you couldn't, but you could. It sure would help.
Yeah, it would definitely help. I mean, I
just think about the
you can't even get a 1-bedroom apartment to rent for $1,000. But
I was thinking about like just real basic subsistence living, where, like, if suddenly you could just get all of your basic needs met, food, shelter, and you didn't have to work to provide that aspect for yourself, then maybe you could work part-time doing something that you kind of enjoy and that you're passionate about. And then the other part-time portion of your life could be spent like doing what you're really passionate about. And we could start to shift this like mentality of we have to devote such a large chunk of our lives to something that the vast majority of people don't really like. And the only exchange for it is survival. Like, I mean, if you look at it from that point of view, right, then it kind of makes sense. You have to work really hard if you want to live and survive. But do you? Like, that's the thing. It's really frustrating, I think.
The way it's set up now, you do, but I don't think you really do. Like
Right.
if
You
you
don't
had,
have to
if you were
work.
in a community where you had that shared space and that shared food and you had that compound, like, is it compound? No, it's a commune.
Commune.
Commune? I like commune.
Compound is something that a cult has.
Okay, so not compounds.
Like
I
in,
heard that after, like I
in
said it, and
Waco,
I'm like,
Texas, David Koresh.
okay, so that's
definitely
not
had
what
a
I'm
compound.
promoting. Definitely. I like the commune, homesteading, like community. I think
Would
a
you
lot
be down
happens.
for that?
I would be down for that. And I think if this world was based off of that, if everybody just started doing that, like that's going to, can you just try to sit with it for a minute? Imagine how much healing that would happen. Not just like with individual and the health and the living off the land, but think about the air, just like how everything would start changing. The world, in my opinion, this makes sense in my brain right now. The world would literally start healing if everybody did that without having to do a big meltdown and start over.
You know what I think?
What? I don't. Tell me.
First off, I gotta
You
write
didn't
this
follow
down.
me, did you?
I followed you immensely. I got a big random takeoff from this. Us, commune, A-frame. That will remind me. Okay. I agree. I think if we lived in small communities like that, it would change everything kind of almost overnight.
Right?
It would happen pretty quickly, I think, if we could manage it.
Yeah.
In my mind, part of the problem with that has always been, just in my processing and my thinking of it, is like, how are we going to go from where we're at to these communities? Like, how are we going to build the infrastructure, do all of these things, get these communities set up out there where they can flourish and thrive? How are we going to create all of that? And then how are we going to get people there, right? Hold on.
Okay.
I just now realizing
Okay.
that we have already created that. So imagine this. We live in this area of a small town, but we kind of live in a smaller community area of said small town. So what if, rather than thinking we had to go somewhere, we could build it here, in this place? Is that what you just wrote down? Start where you are, right? Because it's I mean, all these, you know, you see like community gardens and things
Yeah.
like that. Maybe that's what we should throw out to the HOA. See if we could turn some of these spaces that are like not being used into community
Yeah.
gardens. And if you wanted to come and work in the community garden, then that would be in exchange for, you know, getting your HOA fees.
Or you get like a bundle of the vegetables. You
Right.
get to like,
But that would be a really small example of what we could do here to start to build that community aspect. But I was thinking more along the lines of like, if we all agreed that suddenly we could just start living that way, right? Then what a massive impact that could have, even just up here in this small little community that we live in. Like, think about it.
I'm taking notes, trying to figure out how, like, if we're going to be here, might as well turn it into a commune. I almost say compound again. I'm taking notes.
Starting a cult.
Fuckers are screwed.
Starting a cult. We got a compound.
I'm taking my lion energy.
We're building a fence
You've been
around this community.
Taking.
I just think that, yeah, that makes sense,
It really does.
right? And the simplest thing of a community garden, I think, is a good place to start.
It is.
There's plenty of open space in this community,
It is, especially because they ripped out the fucking playground.
right?
They ripped out, that was their idea of fucking
Who
HOA
knows?
is so stupid.
I think there's two Karens on that board that run everything, and they basically just do a bunch of whiny bitch Karen shit that they have been like pissed off about. 'Cause
Yeah.
the taking down of the playground is some dumb bitch Karen move where she's walking by every day on her power walk, right? And she looks over, that playground's not safe. We really need to get rid of that playground. Somebody's going to get hurt on that playground.
It was totally fine. The foam had come off.
Yeah, keep in mind.
The bear, put more foam on.
This Karen doesn't have a child. She's just a whiny old bitch. Anyways.
The HOA has not been kind. And while we're sitting here going off on Karens and Chads, is that the other one? Or I think Chads are the male term for Karen.
For dicks.
So the Karens and the Chads. I was like, oh my God, I think her name's Karen, but it's not. I just remembered what her name is.
So now back to my note.
No? Oh, okay.
My note that I took. Us, commune, A-frame.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm going to ask based off of those clues? Oh, this is a fucking game show.
Jesus Christ. Us,
Let's do
commune,
this
A-frame.
game show with couples when they come on the podcast.
Is it okay? Is it when we leave?
No, it's just a little segment that we can do on the podcast.
No, like right now, is that the question? Us, commune, A-frame. I'm like, is that the way you're proposing?
Okay, what do you think?
That would be a great proposal if you're like, hey, us, commune, A-frame. I'd be like, I do.
You, me, back of the car.
Well, see, that's a much better line. Us, compound, A-frame. Commune, not compound. Jesus, get that out of my head.
So I think we've mentioned it a couple of times, but we're planning our future, and that involves minimizing going down to a small down. Yeah, we're moving off grid, and we're going out there into the world.
We're going out into the world. I wasn't thinking about people other than the kids if they wanted a place.
So would you be interested in
a commune?
Well, what I'm saying is, I bet you that this already exists in this country.
Probably.
And I bet you if we looked, we could go buy land where it already exists and become a part of said commune.
There's some in Utah, but I think it's run by FLDS people. I think that's a compound.
FLDS?
Did I say it wrong?
Fucking LDS people. Right. No, we like the LDS people, most of them, the ones that we like at least. FLDS is fundamental, meaning they're the real Mormons. Would you, not to the compounds, but would you be interested in researching that as an option, or do you want to us build it and then see who comes?
Okay, my honest answer.
That's what I want.
Right? Is I want us to build it. I don't want to try and like figure out that we're in Midsummer or whatever. Isn't that what that show was called?
God.
So I want to build it. That way I know like there's none of that fuckery happening. I don't want to just join one and be like, oh my God, if you try and leave, they kill you and they light you on fire and hopefully you win the dance. So no, that movie scared me.
That was a scary fucking movie.
That was a scary movie. So if we build it, they will come.
Yeah.
But we are not they for somebody else.
Part of me really wants to say yes.
Oh, okay.
Like part of me really, not even just to the idea of like.
Wait, which one?
Both.
Okay.
But as I sit and think about it, there's also another part of me that wants solitude.
Very much.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
There's this part of me, I think a big part of me is wanting that, like, silence.
Yeah.
Imagine how beneficial it's going to be for our bodies to hear nature and not noise.
Yeah. Very, very beneficial.
So maybe we got to come up with some middle ground, because I want community, but I also want like sovereignty. I want my space.
I agree.
And my space kind of has to be big. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like part of I like where we live. I like the house, town, community, everything like that. But I don't like how close everybody is.
Right?
Yeah. I need more space.
Agreed.
So
agreed.
We'll figure it out. If you have a commune and you listen to the podcast and you want us to come move to your commune, shoot us an email. We'll totally come move to your commune. Wink,
I'm
wink.
researching Midsummers.
We'll even move to a compound. It depends. What kind of compound
right.
is it?
It depends.
Is there
No.
a cult that you've I mean, I know we joke about it sometimes. Like we watched Nexium.
Nexium.
Was that the cult there?
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, that just looked like
it
super,
looked amazing
super wonderful, good,
until
healthy.
it was like, that's not okay.
But have you ever come across one that you're like, in the back of your mind, you're like, it's terrible, but I would actually join that one?
I don't know. Nexium was really until they really let out the skeletons, and it was pretty bad. I feel like I'm kind of involved in one that has a Nexium fill right now.
Goodness.
But luckily, I'm not paying into it like they did. I wanted to. I was like, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen.
Oh, I
and
think
then
I know.
You do know. And then I started being like, ooh, y'all are kind of weird. There's some shady shit going on there. And then we watched Nexium. I was like, holy fuck, I know what they changed their name to.
Yes.
So kind of, but also I'm like, I'll take the good parts and just not be included in all your.
Every cult has some good parts.
Well, that's I'll stay on the outside with the good parts. I'm not, luckily I have commitment issues. So I won't have to worry about committing to a cult. I'm like, I have to stay. Like, what? You need my commitment? Later.
Stephanie, we just need you to sign this little liability waiver.
We out.
It's just about parking.
Right. It is so hard.
I had something at the very beginning of the episode. And it was like, oh my gosh, I want to talk about this.
Before you're still trying to conjure that up, but what about you? The cult, same question. Is there one that you were like, yeah, I joined that?
I'm trying to think. We've talked cult. We've had cult talk before on this podcast.
We have. Jared Leto was the star of the show.
Right. And I think we also mentioned that I could probably start a cult pretty easily.
And that also we weren't going to do that.
Right. We're not doing that. That's right. Thank you.
Do you remember?
That was so close. Do you see how close that was? I almost slid right into cult leader. That was so close. Fuck. You guys are lucky out there listening, because as soon as that would have happened, immediately the sound of my voice would have started to hypnotize you towards the cult. That was close. Thank you. I was on the edge, babe.
I've got
You
you.
pulled me back.
I've got you.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I think that do you remember Wild Wild Country? I think was the name of that one.
Help me.
It was the Netflix doc back in the 70s.
Oh,
The cult that
you told me about that. I didn't actually
didn't end up
watch
watching
that.
that?
No.
Yeah, watching that one.
That was when you were like traveling all the time. And so you thought I would watch it by myself. Like that scary shit.
And I felt like for the most part, because, you've got the spiritual guru that comes over here and creates a following, and he speaks nothing but, truth and honesty and beautiful things. And next thing you know, he's got a healthy little following that wants to create a community. So
A commune.
Well, they bought a town up in Washington, I think. I mean, the whole 9 yards, right? And all along the way, I'm watching that. I'm like, so far, so good. Like,
Right?
It's the same concept of like, hey, we're going to go to a commune and live on an intentional community. That's not the right word, but I
Isn't
like
it?
the idea of it.
Okay.
So in that documentary and with that
Are
specific
you thinking
cult,
sustainable?
just I don't know what I'm
I think
thinking.
intentional. It works.
But I think the problem with that one was just a small group inside of it that were crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh, is this a story about the
bananas.
Mormons?
Yeah,
Okay.
like bananas crazy, like poisoning people.
I think that's a cult.
Machine guns, whole 9 yards.
That's pretty crazy.
Like super crazy. However, if you removed those people, it's kind of a good idea. Like I said, I'm not opposed to cults
Yeah.
as long as they don't have the crazy faction. And I don't even care if they call it a cult.
Yeah.
Like the word itself it doesn't really hold a lot of, like if somebody accused me of being a cult leader, I'm So I'm sitting there thinking of Beetlejuice. Like you say
Yeah.
it 3 times, and that's how Craig turns into a.
It's about there.
Can't say it because that would be the third time. Yeah, I think we should at least research cults.
I don't want to.
What about intentional
Because I think the
communities?
difference that makes it a cult is when you take the really good stuff
Mm-hmm.
and then you turn it shit. So that's how they get called a cult.
But those are just it's like religion, right? Religion's great. It's just
Mormons are a cult.
yes,
Yes.
they are.
Yes. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't either. We're definitely stuck on cults.
We talked about what did we talk about?
Astrology.
Oh yeah, the moons and stuff. But it was before all
Did
of
I
that.
say astrology?
Maybe.
I said astrology. I think I said astrology.
Dun, dun. I'm trying to think. It's in there somewhere. Gosh darn it. I don't have it.
You don't have it?
No, I
That's
don't have
okay.
it.
I'm sorry I don't have it either. Was it us, commune, A-frame?
No, but I remembered.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
That was a long haul.
Hurry up before you forget.
Okay. Not too long ago, I got the opportunity to go to jiu-jitsu and roll on edibles. And that was the first time I was able to experience rolling while high. Because it's a thing in the jiu-jitsu community.
Is it?
Yeah. They even have like a jiu-jitsu tournament in Vegas every year where it's like the tournament itself, like when you win a bunch of weed. Like the whole thing is get as high as you fucking can and go roll. So it's a thing in the community.
Okay. I did not know that.
And I've heard people talk about it a lot. And I've heard people talk about the experience of it because supposedly it's a lot different. Anyways, got the experience.
Yeah.
Such a fan.
Yeah.
Such a huge fan. It was so interesting. I think what it is, so I'm going to elaborate on this for a while. Strap in, sit down, pull up a seat. You know how time shifts differently when you're high?
Mm-hmm.
And it just time does not work normally. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower, right? But time gets shifted when you're high. A lot of jiu-jitsu has a lot to do with timing and with time. And oftentimes you have very split seconds of time in order to do something. So you have just the briefest of a split second to slip out of the arm bar. And if you miss that window, then you have to tap or get your arm broken. So it's a lot about time and about timing. And when you're high, you're able, I think, to tap in and to see time differently. So what happened when I was rolling was it felt very fluid. And I've experienced that before. Like you just feel flowy when you're rolling. And it is a flow state that happens. But you get into this space where it's like a dance. And it's just really cool. It's a neat flow experience. So that happened. But then I noticed that at first. And then I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wonder, but I'm like, I already know what that feels like. And I'm like, what else is there? And then I kind of forgot about it and just kept rolling. And then the next thing I knew, I was doing stuff that I don't normally do. I watch a lot of jiu-jitsu. So I see a lot of techniques and moves that I want to try. But it's not like I get, oftentimes I forget about that one, or by the time you get to the gym, 2 days later, you've seen 15 other techniques that you want to try. But I was starting to do some of those things. I was starting to do some of those techniques that I've seen multiple times in these videos that I wanted to do. But I was able to start to see some of those and start to do some of those. And it just happened naturally in that flow state. So that was really cool. And then it was like I was starting to incorporate a lot more techniques that weren't my common bag of tricks, right? When you get good at jiu-jitsu, but I mean, it's like everybody has their strong points, and you go back and back and back and back and back to those techniques, to those moves, to those positions. Obviously, that's why they are your strong points. And I have mine. But when I was high, I expanded outside of that. And it was like I was doing stuff that I do sometimes, but not all the time. I was doing stuff that I've seen before. I was doing stuff that I've like heard the conceptual understanding of what this technique is, and I understand it, but I don't really do it. I was doing all of it. And I was doing it at a very like proficient level, not to say high level, but very proficient. And it felt smooth in the same flow of everything else that was going on. And then sometimes in jiu-jitsu, like I said, it's all about time and timing. There's always these spots in jiu-jitsu where you'll have like a 50-50 spot. Sometimes, I mean, that's literally what it's called. Sometimes it's like 50-50 because you're both at the spot where you could go either way.
Okay.
And so you get to those positions and you get to those spots quite a bit where it's like, I could go this way or the other person could go that way. Like it's just this little pause. Sometimes those pauses are longer. Sometimes those pauses are really brief. And it kind of just depends on the situation, and it depends on the position, and it depends on the person. What happened was those pauses, I could see what I needed to do next.
Okay.
Which was bananas. Because it was like time slowed down enough. I imagine in my mind this one thing that I'm thinking of when I had the awareness of like, holy shit, this thing just fucking happened. That felt like 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But I think because time, it felt like 3 to 5 seconds for me.
Uh-huh.
So I had time to recognize we're in a 50-50. And I could feel that he knew we were in a 50-50. Shout out to Derek, by the way. This motherfucker. This fucking guy. Right?
Fucking guy.
This fucking guy. Jesus. He's like a fucking, he's a wild man. He reminds me of like in Braveheart, where the one guy from Ireland comes over to help or something, right? And he's the wild one that like saves Mel Gibson from the guys that were trying to kill him, and that character.
Yeah, that's Derek.
Yeah, fucking crazy.
He just comes in like, ah!
Yeah. That's what it feels like rolling with him sometimes. But we get to the spot where it was a transition, and then we paused. But it wasn't like we both decided we're going to take a break. It's just those pause moments that happen in jiu-jitsu.
Uh-huh.
And it probably lasted a split second.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know Derek.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's not going to hang out in that 50-50 for 5 seconds.
Right.
Right. It's just not. Because he takes advantage of those pauses and attacks me.
Yeah.
And so I have to.
Is he rolling high too?
Maybe.
There you go.
With the talk now, motherfucker. But anyways, I saw what I needed to do. I saw literally step by step from where I was at, which arm I needed to use, where it needed to go, how I needed to roll and position my body, and where I would end up. And as soon as I saw all of that play out, the very next thing was the implementation of it. And then a split second later, I was there. That to me felt like 3 to 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. That was probably 1.7 seconds.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Something like that. Something way short.
Right. So I think that's one of the massive benefits from my one experience rolling that high. Is the time distortion that you can use to your advantage. It's kind of like bullet time. That's what it is.
Bullet time?
Yeah. You remember in The Matrix?
I was going to tell you, this is what it reminded me of.
Neo?
Yes, I wrote that down because it's that moment when he, I like showing you my notes. I'm like, I'm here. When he was like,
yeah.
When he just
exactly.
when they're like, what's happening?
And
he goes, he's starting to believe.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, when he was with the agent.
Christ.
When he was with the agent, when Agent Smith. And
maybe if we're going to talk.
I'm telling you what my memory is.
Okay. But there's a part where he sees it first.
Uh-huh.
Because it's when he's fighting
You said Morpheus.
Morpheus
Yeah.
for the very first time.
Yes. Okay, so
But anyways, I know the part you're talking about where he
don't
starts
dismiss,
kicking Agent
because that's
Smith.
when he like really like sees it. So
Yes.
it's not just like that part where he starts to see it with Morpheus. It's when it becomes that belief.
Yeah, it's when he blocks the bullets. Right.
I think
In
he
the
blocks the
hallway.
bullets after.
No, he stands out and he turns and he looks, and down at the end of the hallway.
Oh, and then they
is
come and
Smith,
fight. Yep.
and they pull out their guns and then they just start shooting at him.
And he
puts up his and he says no or something. He says,
Yeah.
"Fucking candle just moved." Blocks the bullets. They fall, and then he charges them
And then
and
they
just fucks them up.
yeah.
No, he dives into Agent Smith because he
Anyway.
realizes that he's put. Yeah, that's what rolling high feels like.
Damn.
That's exactly what it feels
That's
like.
pretty cool.
Feels like time slows down enough that you can see things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the power of like Doctor Strange to, see all, immediately scan all possible outcomes.
Right.
And then
This is the only
this
way.
is the only way. And this is the result. Because that's what it felt like. It was like, I'm in the 50-50. Move. And it implemented perfectly. And it blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how did that just happen? I've never done that before. It was so fucking weird. So I highly recommend it if you're a jiu-jitsu
Was that a pun?
practitioner.
Is that a pun?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, man, that was all you.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to, I want to talk to some more people about it because I know that there's other guys at the gym that have that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk to them and see what they think.
Be like, hey.
I know. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
You're all going to start carpooling. That way you have more opportunities. You just rotate so somebody's always able to drive.
Yeah. Yeah, it was neat. And I've got close to that space, I think, before. Because I've definitely got into like some really good flow states rolling where it feels super smooth and it feels like you're seeing, ahead from where you're at. Yeah, but that weed experience was something different though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
was
pretty
just
cool.
everything was turned way, 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 way up. So
Did you pump up the volume?
yeah. Do you feel like you have that experience?
I don't do jujitsu.
I know, but like,
And I'm not going to.
what is a flow state for you?
Massage.
Is it?
Yeah, I get there very much.
Any other places that you can think of? I'm asking myself the
I
same
was just
question.
like, I think we go like not in a strategic way, but you said flow state. So it's not like a calculating execution, but it's a definite flow state when we're intimate.
Yeah.
I was going to say sex, but it felt like more. Like I think we definitely hit these like moments where we can see and move and it's a flow state. It's not about, that's just not about submissions. Sometimes.
Tapping. I agree. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I know I've experienced it in other sports
Yeah.
and physical activity. I used to get it running. I remember that.
What happened?
Do you like it? Do you like
Do
the
I
feeling?
like that? I do. I was trying to decide if I liked running enough for that, or if I liked it enough to endure running. And I don't know. I don't know.
I had this thought today too.
Yeah.
Because you and I have had some awareness about like this year for me and my birthday coming up and just the significance of this birthday and all these kind of different things. But I'm going to be 41 and I saw some posts today. Actually, it was that stupid reel where they're like 70s and 80s babies got it going on or something like that. I don't remember what they say.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one? And basically it's just all these 40 plus year old people, showing how hot they are.
Yeah. So like it's that thing where they're saying then we're not aging.
I don't know.
You haven't seen that? They're like,
No.
why are they not aging? Like, anyways, keep going.
I think something happens in your 40s and you
Yeah.
have the opportunity to make a choice. Maybe it is really, truly the midlife, because it's like you have an opportunity to make a choice. Because you see a lot of people
Are
that
you
go,
at the 50-50?
maybe. Oh my goodness.
What are you going to do?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I am.
What are you going to do?
I know what I'm going to do. I can see it all. I mean, over the course of this last year, probably, truthfully, the last year, right? Started therapy a year ago. Like when I turned 40. So I made my choice subconsciously a year ago. Like, I'm going to choose. I saw the direction. Like you said, it's the 50-50. I saw both sides. I saw the space where I could go into all of the past 40 years of shit and continue to perpetuate it. Wow. And then also over the last year, I've seen all the ways that it can be different and how different it can be. That's one thing that's really blown my mind. Even just this year, 2022, I have awareness of how different our life can be. You and me, this thing that we have. I had a vision of what it looked like for a really, really long time, and it was beautiful. But now it's like, oh my gosh, I had been keeping it small. You know, I had been keeping my life small. And it's like I didn't really believe that I deserved this massive thing. Like, we got so much more. Do you know what I mean? We not just have so much more time together, but that time that we have together, it's almost like it's just beginning now. And we're a decade in. And it's like we worked for 10 years. What'd you work for? For the next 60. Yeah. I'll do that. 10 years of what we went through to get to the next 60 years of fucking glory. So I made a choice. And I think that's what happens in your 40s. That's why you see some 40, 48, 49, 50, even into the, like, how so much more lately. And I know that it's, we live longer. We have so many more things to help us. People are keeping better health and taking care of their bodies. And all of these things are having beautiful compounding effects. But I also think there's a choice that gets made. And maybe it's a little bit different for everybody, but it's common in this 40 year, we'll say 35 to 45 year range where you get a choice. And you can either choose to like travel that road that you've never gone down before, but you trust yourself enough because of the roads that you have been down. And some people choose to stay on the roads that they've been traveling, and that's okay. Maybe they get another shot at 60. I don't know. I think we always have the choice, right? We always have the option. Yeah, but there seems like something specific about 40, doesn't it? Because it's not just us that feels that way, I think. We could probably talk to, I know I could talk to a lot of my buddies that I grew up with, and I can see it in them,
I think it's very cool. There's definitely something specific about this one. But if I'm honest, I feel like you and I have the same pattern of like every 10 years, every new decade, we like shift shit up. We both did around that 20, and we both did together at our 30s. And I was afraid of the 40 because I'm
Right.
like, I know what I do every 10 years. Like, I've got a very particular pattern.
Yeah.
You know, but what we did was, because we had like, but I think even each step has been a beautiful step and
An important step.
an important one. I'm pretty particular to where we changed everything and decided to take a healthy journey. And of course, we didn't know how to do that. So, but we decided here, which is what got us through the next decade, which is why this one, we're doing it different.
Yeah. Because
So
we
I
chose to do the last one differently.
We chose to do the last one different. And yeah, we had to go through all, but that was still, we never stopped trying to heal and better ourselves with the tools that we had. And we just kept getting more and more tools until we were like, maybe we should ask for help.
Oh my God, 50. It's going to be so
Right?
amazing. Yeah.
I kind of feel that. Like it just keeps getting better.
Right?
It keeps getting better. Like every decade is better than the last.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my realization today, was not just as beautifully as you just said it, but it was along the lines of like, man, we got so much living to do. Like there's things, honestly, I'll be truthful with you, Steph.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, there's aspects of this that I'm leaving out. I sit there and I think about like my body, and there's so many things, like so many sexy things that I want to do with you.
Oh,
There's a lot of like nude experiences that I want to have with you,
hey.
because I like all of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like I want to continue to fuck in the great outdoors whenever we get the chance to, but I also want to do like the nude beach stuff some more, maybe some sort of like, I don't know,
Yeah.
all the nude stuff
I like
on
the nude
top
stuff.
of like all the crazy fun sex stuff that we have and that we're going to have and that we do and all that kind of stuff. I just want this continual, ongoing, beautiful, sexual, intimate expression journey that we're on. And part of that is I want a body that not just can enjoy all of that, but also like that I feel good about myself in that space, right? I like feeling sexy. I like feeling good about myself.
Yeah.
And in the back of my mind, I've had this thought of like, we're running out of time. That's what I've been thinking up to this point, and I didn't really have awareness of it. Hold on.
Keep going.
But it's the thought of like, what are we going to do? Because we're running out of time. And I just realized like, we're just starting that journey.
Yeah.
We're not running out of time, right? We aren't in any way, shape, or form like it's just beginning, right? We've tipped our toes in the water of some of that stuff, and it's just beginning. And our bodies are going to be like smoking. Like we're going to be super. Like you'll want to come to that nude beach, right? I'm just saying. That's what it's going to be.
Opposed to now.
No. God, no. This is all my own internal dialogue about myself and my body. Oh, goodness. Did you write down this motherfucker's digging himself a hole? Is that what you wrote down over there on your paper?
No, I didn't. I wrote down something that happened to me recently. That I've been working.
Your husband made an ass of himself on the podcast.
No. You're right. I'm feeling you. And what you're saying is like I have like something to add to this.
Yes.
And it's like that same as the commune. You know, start where you are. So I talk a lot about mirror work. You know, I don't know if I talk about it on the podcast.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some reels coming up soon.
Okay. Well, because I talk to people a lot about it, encourage that. And I think it originated from, I think it's called Mirror Work actually by, I think it was Lois Hay.
Yeah. Louise.
Thank you. I knew it was wrong. I'm like, that's not it. I have to double check on that. Anyways, it was like something that like years ago, I was like tearing through stuff. It's like you book after book after book after book. And I still get in the habit of doing that because I'm trying to like go
ADHD.
fast. But that was a hard practice for me. So I don't even remember all the things. The things that stuck were that you want to start by saying, like, looking in the mirror every day in your eyes, being able to look in your eyes and say, I love you. And if you can't, if that is just too much, then I want to love you, or I'm learning to love you. I want to love you. So the pattern is I do, I'm learning, I want to see where you're at. So you do that with love. And if you can't, then like. And if you can't, tolerate. I think I had to tolerate. But there's also like respect. So there's different things. But I remember it being like and love. So I had to start with I want to like you. And it was hell. Every time I wouldn't look at myself in the eyes. And every time I did, it was just venom. It was like just that realization I became my biggest abuser. However, fast forward, I couldn't stick with it. So it's taken me years to get there, because I would do it when I remember. I would do it when I was like in that, like, I'm going to start healing. And so I keep going in there. But then every time I would fall back, I would just tear myself apart. You're supposed to stick with it daily. I couldn't. That's okay. So it took me years. It's like a 28-day program.
Serious.
But it took me years to get there. Everybody's on their own, journey, right? Me, I took Pluto's way. And now, oh my gosh, when I'm in the mirror, I pep talk myself, and I am so kind to myself and loving and supportive. So I've upped my game, and let's see where you're at with this.
Okay.
I dance in front of the mirror naked, and it depends on when I get that time. But as much as I can, I dance. And I'm getting really embarrassed. So I used to just try like with my head or just a little bit, but now I have a dedicated playlist.
Oh yeah.
To it.
Did you totally just used to do like the standing over in the corner, kind of, I'm dancing, shaking your head, moving your shoulders a little bit?
It is so hard. And then just like to do that. And then like I realized while I was trying to do it, I still wasn't looking at myself. I went back to not being able to look at myself. And so I've recently sticking with this like daily instead of, or at least when I can, finding those moments. Sometimes I just pull up my shirt and like do the truffle shuffle, only in a nice way. That was degrading. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I just had to make it okay because I felt really uncomfortable there.
That was funny though.
Thank you. Just to try and move. And then I like playlisted it out hardcore. What was it, like 2 days ago? I told you something just happened. So I was, this is that thing. So I was dancing and making a point, like I'm looking at myself. That's a new one. And trying to dance naked and make contact, like eye contact with your body, was hard. And I'm trying to do that. And I'm just proving to myself, like, my theory is I can't dance. And I'm like, when you're trying to dance naked and awkward, you're like, you are right. You cannot. I'm like, oh my
Survey
God.
says.
But then my dedicated playlist started working. And it was even started belly dancing too, and doing shimmies. Now, shimmies are designed to make you jiggle. So when you got your naked body and you're trying to make it jiggle, when that baby's like, I could have probably like, nope, I'm not going to say something terrible. But it was jiggling. Like I was like shimmying back and forth and doing it and trying to remember, breathe. But then something happened and I got lost in the music. And so I was just like having fun and putting on my makeup and just dancing. And then like my hair down, I was feeling it. And I forgot to pay attention to myself because I got lost in the music, which sometimes happens. But what happened this time is in my move, I caught a glimpse of myself. I am allowed to be proud of myself and confident. I'm like fighting some demons right here to say this out loud because I've got a wound here. But I am allowed to be proud of myself and confident. I'm allowed to say nice things about myself. I caught a glimpse of myself and it surprised me because my thought was like, I looked beautiful. I just felt like I was standing naked. All of my things, and I was moving, and I caught myself, and it was graceful, and I'm like, I looked beautiful. And then it was just like, because that was a real thought, because I surprised myself, and it wasn't my, like, I'm really, really nice to myself, but I have to say it, and you're thinking about what you say, and I'm like encouraging, and it was not a thought that I was choosing to think. It was a thought that happened, and I was like, and it just like felt amazing, and I couldn't believe it, and I just like had this like whole body I'm just like trying to like figure out how to feel this, because this isn't something that I felt. I've never been like that raw, and just thought, I mean, I've had confidence with, the right clothes, the right lighting, when I was at a weight that I thought was okay, the right hair, the right makeup from a distance, all the things, but I hadn't seen like just the rawness of me. And so it was pretty powerful. And so now I'm challenging and up the game of, you're talking about your body when, like, what about your body now? Because it's beautiful. And let's get healthy. Like, we get to do that together. I'm not saying like, but also like, start where you are. Like, start dancing in front of the mirror and let it be as weird as long as it's weird. And one day you might surprise yourself.
I'm so happy.
I'm a little awkward now.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, baby. That's so beautiful. That just makes me so, so happy. I think one of the things that came up for me while you were talking was, oh, that's why you took belly dancing. Think about the mirror work that took place.
Oh, because he had to do everything in the mirror too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was so hard.
Yeah.
In front of people.
Yeah.
But at least we had clothes on.
And you did that.
Yeah.
In one way, shape, or form led to you being able to do this.
Yeah.
In preparation, right? You practiced there for the for the big show where you got to do it naked. Right?
It was we had some beautiful lovemaking after that. It was really it was a different experience too, to not be afraid of my body and to feel like I had that, like, I wanted you to look at me, and not in a, I don't even know how to explain it. How would I even explain that? I don't know. It just felt so sensual and so connected. And so it was just this, and it wasn't hard to be in my skin.
It's so beautiful. Yeah.
There was more to say to that, but I just can't grab it right now. It's like my body, my brain, all that. Like, you've been vulnerable enough.
It's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a big deal. It's such like if there was a, we'll one day create a checklist for self-love, and you can just slowly check them off as you go down the path of self-love. You just checked off like 3. Bam, 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 bam. It was beautiful.
Encourage everybody to do that mirror work.
Yeah. So important.
It is. I was thinking about that. You're talking about the relationship mirror, and I'm like, oh, why don't you start being your own mirror? But like, I don't know. We're really good at beating ourselves up. So let's try to be kind.
Yeah. It feels so good, doesn't it?
It does. It feels really good.
Yeah, it feels really good. One thing, because we got to wrap up, because we got some stuff to do.
Me too. It's almost time.
It's full moon.
Ooh.
We're going to be outside naked. If you want to swing by, we now live in a commune that we've started. I just realized as you were talking about this, the mirror gazing, one of the, I guess it is shadow work, because in some way mirror gazing shadow work. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've had awareness of, and I'm just now realizing it as you're talking earlier and things like that, is I have been scared to do face gazing with you, but I've wanted to so badly. So there's something about that scares me, but that I'm super pulled to. So that's something that I want to do. Maybe we do it tonight. I don't know. But
We've done it, so I don't.
I know, but when we do it, I'm usually like super activated. I'm scared when we do it. And but it's weird because I want to do it. I think maybe I bet a big part of it is
Are you ready for me to see you?
yeah. You know, I have anything to hide. Consciously or subconsciously. So yeah, let's do some face gazing. I don't know if I want to do it tonight though. I'm scared. Immediately I'm like, I'm kind of scared. Maybe we won't do it tonight.
It's maybe you got scared because I started visualizing how we were going to do it.
I think you started doing
and it was a whole thing. And you're like,
yeah, you started already. You got a cult leader in you too. Somebody says something and Steph's like, I'm sorry, what's that again? She starts looking at them. Next thing you know, they're like, what do you want from me?
no.
You're just powerful. That's all. Face gazing, beautiful woman, you. February is almost over, folks, and you still have a chance to enter the contest to win this beautiful backdrop. Go to Instagram, check out up top. There's a little thing. You'll see it. It's obvious. And you can win the backdrop right there. We'll send it to you along with maybe something else. Thank you for listening. Go have a wonderful day.